Hello BookTube, I'm Jonathan and welcome to Words in Time. Now in today's video we're going to be talking about We Are Legion, We Are Bob by Dennis E. Taylor. Now off the bat, I like that title. It's kind of intriguing and gives you a bit of a sense for the tone of the book, which is the first in the Bobiverse series. So what is the premise for We Are Legion, We Are Bob? Well, Bob is the founder of a successful software company, and he decides to have his head cryonically frozen upon his death. And coincidentally, the next day he gets hit by a car, which is kind of lucky or unlucky, depending on your point of view. So he wakes up over 100 years in the future, and his body has not been preserved, but his consciousness has. It's been digitalized. And the Earth is a very different place. Things aren't going too well. And he is told that he's been considered for a mission to be sent into space as a von Neumann probe, which is a self-replicating machine. And it is his job to find other planets, other worlds to colonize before other countries do. So I love this premise. There's a lot going on. There is a personal story, Bob. He's thrown into a crazy situation, which is interesting to see how he reacts to. There is a fun space race story, an interesting plot there that gets us going. I want to find out what happens there. And there's a lot of sci-fi ideas and concepts crammed into the premise as well. So I'm totally on board with the premise of We Are Legion, We Are Bob. So let's dig into some of those themes and concepts a bit more. What does the book explore? Well, one of which is the theme of AI, artificial intelligence. And the book asks the question, what makes you you? Bob, he wakes up and he no longer has his body. Is he still a human? Is he still Bob? Are those two questions the same thing, or are they different things? And as Bob has to kind of grapple with these ideas, we're, as the reader, forced to think about those kinds of things as well, because although perhaps not in the near future, it's not out of the realm of possibility that something like that over 100 years in the future could be available to us too. So, interesting things to think about. Another idea in the book is replicants. So, as I mentioned, von Neumann probe is self-replicating. So, if Jonathan could become two Jonathans, could become many Jonathans, how would I feel about that? How would that affect my sense of self, my place in the universe? How would I interact with them if they were all the same? Or would there be slight variations? Are all the Jonathans unique? Are they slightly different? So, interesting question for Bob. Moral decisions, moral questions. The book poses a few of them. One that I found that was really interesting was, if you were to come across another life form, so Bob, he's traveling through space, there's the potential for other planets to have life on them. And if there is life, well, should we interact with them? For example, if Bob has more technology, more advanced technology, and it's a relatively primitive society or species, he could help them, right? He could show them technology, give them the technology, perhaps improve their way of life. But at the same time, what if that species has a fairly delicate ecosystem? So by helping one portion of it, you're actually damaging another part. Or by helping them, you're making them self-reliant on them, which is hurting their growth and hurting their future. So it's an interesting question. Do we have a responsibility to help? Or would that just be playing God? Would that really be arrogant, thinking that you could help such a different species on a different planet to your own? Another concept that I found quite interesting was the concept of expansion. So if humans do leave Earth, whether they are forced to or whether they just have a desire to, what is humans' place in the universe once we do that, once we leave our home of Earth? And what are the rules? The way things will play out once we get into space, the societal norms, the physical restrictions, they've all changed. So how is that going to play out? What decisions would you make if you were in that situation? So, some really deep sci-fi ideas and themes going on in the book. Now, when it comes to characters, there are a few, but of course the main one is Bob. The story is told from Bob's perspective, and there's more than just one Bob. So, a decent amount of your enjoyment of the book might come from how much you like Bob. And I liked Bob as a character. I thought he was quite interesting. He's very analytical, which helps when he's put into this specific situation. But that didn't feel contrived because it makes sense that he would be the personality, the consciousness picked for this mission, considering that's the case. So I did think that that was a nice method used by Dennis E. Taylor. And Bob, he is quite funny. He's very dorky. He makes a lot of references and a lot of self-deprecating jokes. So this is a funny book. I did enjoy it, although at times it did veer a little bit towards some corniness, a few dad jokes, and look, I love a good dad joke. I just don't know how many dad jokes I liked. So it has a specific tone, but it is a singular tone, and for me, it started to wear a little thin in the back half of the book, but your mileage may vary. And it did help that there was some variation in some of the replicant Bobs. So, putting all that together, what is my rating? Well, as I mentioned, I love the sci-fi ideas, the themes, the concepts, and there were some great action scenes as well, and some funny moments. I just wanted a little bit more from the plot. The story meanders a little bit at times, and it didn't ramp up to the most satisfying conclusion. I liked the ending, but I just wanted a little bit more in the first book, although you can see that there are some threads laid for the rest of the series. And as I mentioned, the tone started to wear on me just a little bit over time. So, for my rating for We Are Legion, We Are Bob, I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. Definitely a solid first book in the series. Who do I recommend it to? Well, pretty much everyone, unless either the science that I described or the style of comedy, the sense of humor I described doesn't sound up your alley, then it might not be for you. But otherwise, this is a fun, fast-paced read. You'll get through it quickly. And my only question for you now is, if you have read the Bobiverse, should I continue? Because I'm a little bit on the fence, just because I feel like this was good, but I feel like I have a pretty good sense of Bob and the Bobiverse. I'm just wondering what more is out there. So if you have read it and you're thinking, Jonathan, books 2, 3, there's only supposed to be a trilogy, but also 4, they got great stuff in them, you're gonna love it, let me know in the comments. And if you haven't read it, let me know whether this review made you want to pick it up. Is it for you? And if you do pick it up, come back to the video later and let me know whether you enjoyed it. So, as always guys, I really appreciate you watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you did enjoy, feel free to subscribe because there'll be more sci-fi book reviews coming soon.